Her fingers suddenly sprouted sharp metallic claws, and the next second, she trapped the assassin chasing them in a web of supernatural energy.
What the fuck kind of terrifying ability has this girl awakened?
Dylan's arm was slung over her shoulder as Bella half-dragged, half-supported him out of the room. Despite his injuries, Dylan was still conscious enough to mutter,
Where's Hank?
He went out earlier, probably to find Victor and the others.
Bella replied, her eyes darting around cautiously. She was on edge, ready for any unexpected surprises.
He won't let you guys off that easily.
Dylan said with a grimace.
You need to get out of here. Fast.
Bella nodded, but her mind was already racing, plotting how to deal with Hank. With her newly acquired powers, she couldn't summon the Moonhorn blade, but she could try out other weapons. She glanced down at her hands, and with a thought, a row of sharp metallic claws extended from her fingers.
What the fuck is that?
Dylan asked, his eyes widening in disbelief.
Something new I picked up.
Bella said dismissively.
Don't worry about it. Let's just focus on getting out of here.
They had barely reached the end of the hallway when the sound of footsteps echoed from upstairs. Bella froze, quickly pulling Dylan into the shadows. The footsteps grew louder, closer. She held her breath, her metallic claws ready to strike at a moment's notice. A figure appeared at the top of the stairs. It was Hank. His gaze swept the hallway, a cold smirk playing on his lips.
Trying to hide? I knew you wouldn't just sit still.
Bella's heart tightened. There was no avoiding this now. She gave Dylan a shove, whispering.
Find somewhere to hide. I'll handle him.
Dylan hesitated, wanting to argue, but the determination in Bella's eyes made him relent. He nodded and slipped into a nearby room. Hank sauntered closer, his eyes locking onto Bella.
Well, isn't this interesting? Playing the helpless victim earlier, and now you're ready to fight to the death.
Bella sneered.
You think you can scare me forever?
Hank raised an eyebrow.
Then show me what you've got.
Before he could finish his sentence, Bella lunged, her claws extending into long spikes aimed straight for his chest. But Hank's body flickered and turned incorporeal. The spikes passed through him harmlessly.
Shadow form.
Bella muttered through gritted teeth, cursing herself for being careless. Hank laughed, his voice dripping with mockery.
You really think these little tricks can take me down?
Bella didn't respond. Instead, she leapt back, putting some distance between them. Her claws morphed into a long whip, which she lashed out with a sharp crack. The whip sliced through the air with a menacing hiss. Even in his shadow form, Hank wasn't invincible. The whip's force forced him to retreat, and the smug grin on his face began to fade.
Not bad.
Hank growled, his tone colder now. He shifted back into his solid form, a gun suddenly appearing in his hand. He aimed it at Bella without hesitation.
Shit!
Bella's instincts kicked in, and she conjured a metal shield just in time. The gunshot rang out, the bullet ricocheting off the shield with a sharp clang.
You think that shield's gonna save your ass?
Hank sneered, firing again and again. Bella gritted her teeth, using the shield to block the bullets as she closed the distance between them. She knew she couldn't let him keep the upper hand. If this dragged on, she'd be done for. Finally, she saw an opening. With a swift motion, she lashed out with her whip, wrapping it tightly around Hank's wrist. The gun clattered to the ground, and Hank's expression darkened.
You think you've won?
Hank snarled, his body flickering as he tried to shift back into shadow form to escape the whip's grip. But this time, Bella was ready. With a thought, the whip transformed into a massive net, ensnaring Hank's shadowy form and holding him in place.
What the hell is this?
For the first time, there was a hint of panic in Hank's voice.
Take a wild guess.
Bella said with a cold smile, tightening the net around him. Hank struggled, his form shifting and twisting as he tried to break free. But no matter what he did, the net held firm. His face grew pale, and desperation crept into his voice.
Let me go. We can talk this out.
Talk about what?
Bella's voice was icy.
How you're planning to kill us?
Hank opened his mouth, but no words came out. He knew he was screwed. Bella didn't give him another chance. With a final pull, the net constricted, trapping Hank completely. His struggle slowed, and his body went limp as he lost consciousness. Breathing heavily, Bella leaned against the wall for support. She took a moment to catch her breath before heading back to find Dylan. Pushing open the door, she saw him slumped against the wall, pale but with a faint smile of relief.
It's done.
Bella said, managing a small smile.
We can go now.
You're amazing.
Bella helped him up, and together they made their way out of the basement. By the time they stepped out of the mansion, the first light of dawn was breaking over the horizon. Bella looked up at the sky, her thoughts turning to Victor.
Victor,
She murmured to herself.
you better make it back in one piece.